I asked ChatGPT if they could design two different versions of KFC for me. A retro version and a modern version. And why did I do that, you ask? So that we can remake them in today's video. Starting with, first of all, let's take a trip down memory lane. We will begin with the Retro KFC. My materials of choice are the smooth quartz variants, the mangrove variants, and the black glass variants. For the record, I think that the pale oak variants could look nice as well, but I like the contrast between the textures of the quartz and the wood. Let's go ahead and start with the door. So I'm going to mark the door out with some black stained glass, and left of it seems to be a small window, which appears to be flush with the door. So we'll place 4 glass pane like this. There is also a split in the window, which is kind of tricky. So we can achieve the effect here by either placing some white stained glass pane to signify that there is a split in between the two window panels, or we could place some diorite wall. Those are the only two blocks that kind of match, other than just straight up going with the smooth quartz, which might be the best option. It does seem as though that the right window is larger than the left, but I actually believe that that's just the angle. I'm almost certain that they're the same size, because they are on the left side of the build, and I'm pretty sure that the entrance area is simply a square. But what is interesting is that the windows are kind of actually sunken back a bit as well. There is this corner pillar here, and we also have like a window frame, like an interesting frame underneath the window. So there's like a window sill, I should say, kind of like this. We might be able to achieve this effect better by placing some pale oak signs. I'm not certain that I like that. The inverse might actually look better. Nope. This just 100% looks best, followed by this. It wouldn't look so bad if we placed something underneath the windows. This might be the way to go. This is reprehensible. There's also clearly some frame around the door, now that I look at it. We're still going for a single door, but the door also has to be as high as the windows, is what I was about to say. And next to the door, we also have seemingly like another pillar of sorts. So something like this. And then we can just run some smooth quartz just straight across the top. It also has to be higher. I'm going to go for this and see if it looks too tall. This might be too crazy. So I'm thinking this. The left side of the entrance here is pretty much just identical to the front, so we're just going to copy that. Come to think of it, actually, there is a minor size difference because there isn't actually like the entrance on this side. I'm also thinking about the fact that there should also be a frame on the opposite side of the door here, and then we can just stack up some more smooth quartz. So I think that that is a little bit more accurate. So for the door itself, I think that we're just going to use an iron door. And there is some sort of handle directly to the left of it that is white. So this is either a pale oak fence or an iron bar. I personally think that the iron bar looks better, but the pale oak fence is more true to the actual design. There's also a sign on the door, so we're using a pale oak sign for this, and it literally just reads open. So I wish that there was like a black sign that we could use, because then we can white dye and then glowing. Actually, that doesn't look bad, but I do wish that the sign itself was black. Maybe dark oak could look better. I think that dark oak does look better. It's not exactly black, but it's close. So I'm looking at the build, and I'm wondering if we can shave a block off here, and also equally here, because it seems as though that the corner here is a little bit thicker than the other sides, but I don't know if that's perspective. I also don't know if pale oak would look better than smooth quartz. I don't hate it. We would have to change the windows too. The door's got to match now. Or alternatively, we do just have like a full-on glass door. That might also be the way to go. Although now, if we are using oak, never mind. thought the fence and glass gripped onto each other for some reason. We are just going to move this sign one row down now though. Something we could also do in either direction is we could add some slabs to the top here so that it kind of like frames the top of this a little bit better, and it also makes the building a tad bit taller. How did that happen? The reason that would be handy is because we have to fit some signs across the top of the building here, and it would be nicer if the signs were like kind of framed right in the middle of the wall, and the roof itself could then kind of start here so that they would sit like perfectly right in the middle. Speaking of the sign, I would love to write out the words Kentucky Fried Chicken just fully with banners, but the problem is the fried chicken part, as if we start here, we need 13 rows. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then we would need an extra row here on the end just so that the letters aren't touching the edge of the building. That's already a problem because whilst we could conceivably restore this pillar to its regular size, adding another 3 rows would just completely throw off the entrance area completely. And on top of that, we would have to make this entire thing then just 2 rows higher. So it would just completely throw off the scale. It'd look weird. Predicament number 2 is where we actually just place KFC. So like, do we place it right in the middle? Or do we place it like tastefully at the edge here? So kind of just like on the corner of the building? Or do we place it perhaps above the entrance area? I'm leaning more towards this. By the way, I think I've come full circle. I'm leaving that pillar how it is, and I'm also going to restore this one as well. I'm just going to make this side a little taller to match the front. And now I think we've got to start making the rest of the building. So we have to elongate this at least by the amount of area that this is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're just going to stack this up a little bit to about here, and then we're just going to chuck some mangrove on top. And I think that we will leave it like this. Although seemingly it kind of has like an interesting texture of maybe like these stairs like stacked on top of each other like this. I think that actually looks perfect. And we want to do a similar thing on the front, but this is wider. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 this time. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we can just stack this up in a similar way. And then the same mangrove on top. And then the fancy stairs. Although, minor issue, the front is different actually. So we then have some pale oak planks on top. And then there is a little bit of roof. Now the roof actually, interestingly, now that I look at it, is kind of like the first layer of the roof is kind of like upside down mangrove stairs, which actually kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in things, and that's also interesting too. So in the image, the roof clearly starts like right here, directly on top of the entrance, like we have the upside downy mangrovey stairsy bit, and then it just keeps continuing in a flat line to the right. However, the right obviously extends in a little bit, so maybe that's right. Maybe it's just that we have this bit wrong. Maybe this just kind of like extends like this, and then what would we back this with? I guess just some more mangrove. That looks quite right, actually. Although this kind of throws off my plan a little bit. So this set of banners right here is no longer centered above the windows. They would be if I did this, but then that kind of looks worse, in my opinion. I think that the only option is to leave it how it is. Okay, let's just connect the rest of the build together first. So I'm just going to literally join these 2 walls together at a right angle. And that also includes making all of the upside down stairs and all of those details the same. My only gripe is this. So the right side of KFC is taller than the back part of KFC. So I'm guessing maybe I'll extend this over and kind of like turn this into a rectangle, and then that will probably work that way. Honestly, we're not looking too bad right now. I want to focus on the entrance roof next. So first we've kind of got to carve this shape out. So let's start off by extending up the kind of like central shape of this part of the roof. I'm just going to use planks for this first. Okay, that's not too bad. I wish I would have actually just used stairs though, because I think that this is where the roof kind of begins, and I think that I'm majoritively just going to use mangrove stairs. I'm thinking I extend upwards and inwards to about here. I actually think there will suffice. I think that the top of the roof in here has to be pale oak planks. And then there's, of course, this, like, pillar in the middle, kind of like this, which would ideally be a... It would ideally be a square, but this is a rectangle. What's funny is if we did keep this pillar like this, then that'd actually be perfect, I think. Let's just go ahead and see if it works. Oh, it works alright. Okay, this is better. Like, the middle of it seems to be a different material, so maybe if we just stick like a smooth quartz or a white concrete or something, we'll leave it like that for a second. And then around the top seems to just be like alternating stairs, so... Well, I suppose that first of all, there's like this, so just some upside down stairs, and then I think that like literally starting like here is the alternating set. Maybe we'll try this and we'll see how it looks. Gross. Okay, what if we change the upside down set to the alternating? What if we add mangrove slabs underneath it? Mario mushroom. What if we start the alternating stairs directly on top like this? Okay. There's also some like slabs to the left, right, and technically speaking like front and back of this, but there's no way to add the front and back. It might just be better to either like extend this up or to just kind of accept the fact that we can't have a different block in the middle because it just throws things off. This kind of throws things off a little bit as well. So the top of this should just be a mangrove, right? I always try this, and it just never ends up looking right. Can we clant at the top of this to... Because it's meant to be like mangrove, but it just doesn't look right. Like, I feel as though we can't even like flare it out using some slabs either. I think that will just make it look weird. I think that we're back to the mushroom. I don't think we can really make it... We can try making it taller. So if we extend the whole thing up a row, and then we can try and add the mangrove. Try the signs again, maybe? I'm gonna try adding the slabs either side again, see if that does anything, but I don't think it will. I think it will just make it look weirder. Yeah, no. It's also meant to, like, peak a little bit more as well. The only way that I can think to do it is by using a fence and then maybe, like, a candle on top. But I feel as though that kind of looks weirder. So the only other way to do that is, like, full block and then the same. Does that look a bit too much? One of these times when I apply signs, it's actually gonna look good. I don't actually hate that. That doesn't look terrible. Sometimes in situations like these, it helps to do something else and then come back to it. So I'm going to add some path just around the build, and there's also some like podzol and some hedging as well. So I think that this actually has to extend out a little bit more like this. So I'm wondering whether podzol would look better underneath the windows. I'm actually thinking it might. I think that this might be the way to go. And then we've just got some bushes as well, so there's... I think that that's all of them. I'm also kind of tempted to just use, like, azalea as well, because I think that they're not quite big enough is the only thing, so what about, like, a little mixture? Maybe something like that, so maybe an azalea here, and then leaves, like, on these corners? Maybe something like this, or do I just go leaves for everything? I might leave it like this for now. And surrounding KFC is just this big giant road, or I'm assuming car park. There's also a sign on the left side of the KFC here, and I think I'm going to use diorite for the lower part of the sign. It extends up to about here, I would say, and then you've got like the actual large part of the sign, so we're going to go for 3 blocks wide, and I think that we're going to leave enough space so that we can just write out KFC. There's kind of like a little portrait of the Colonel as well, but I don't think that there's really a way to do that without it looking insane. Replace underneath this with a smooth stone. And the lettering on the sign is actually red, so we have to remake the banners. And we can just stick them in the middle here. And I think that that looks pretty good. I just realized that these windows on the side actually are a little bit too low, and it's thrown off the symmetry a bit. Guys, I just had a thought. What if we write Kentucky Fried Chicken just sprawled across from like the left side of the build here all the way across to the right? Would that look insane? So I'm thinking like Kentucky here on this side. Oh no, it kind of fits. And then I don't know if we'd need a space or not. Fried, and there's no way chicken's going to fit. How far would we have to go? That is such a shame, because I think if we do write this on the building, I actually think it will look better. Before we start doing any weird experiments, we're going to clone the building. So, step 1, we have to make this side of the building 1 row wider. So that allows us to just write out Kentucky and it not join to the sides of the building. But then that means we have to move the front right side of the building to the right by 2 rows. We can fit fried chicken on here just barely. I would prefer that if we had a gap, but I think that if we add an extra 2 rows, I think that that might be just too much. See, because now we've done this, we now have to redo the roof, and I'm hoping that it's not thrown off too much. Interestingly, the actual like tower above the entrance of KFC, we can still center it on this axis, but there's a little bit of extra space all the way around, which honestly is not that bad. What if we shove it back a row and then apply the slabs like this? I can't help prefer this to this. Like that just has so much more character with the letters. And characters, pun intended. With us stick Steve's head up here, does that look insane? Oddly enough, I kind of like this. I do just have to clean up some parts of the build, so I just have to like seal up the walls, and I'm also just going to make the roof as well. That's looking pretty clean to me. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. What do you reckon? Have I done a good job? Does that look good? Here is the build with shaders, if you're into that sort of thing. And here is a build side by side with the reference image. I don't think it's too far off. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Next, we're heading to the future with the modern version of KFC. These are the initial materials that I've picked out. We have all of the smooth quartz variants, red concrete, grey concrete, a little bit of black stone wool, and some black stained glass. I don't think that I would use any other variations of these materials. I think this is pretty dead on. I think that I'm going to start off with the door for a change. I'm going to mark out just a 1x3 using black stained glass, so this is where we will actually walk in. And let's build up the frame around this. I'm going to use polished black stone wall and some glass pane to frame the windows and just the actual door frame / window frames themselves. We're looking at something like this, so I reckon for the actual doorway itself, that's where we walk in, we will just leave an empty space and add a door handle here. We need some red concrete around this as well, and extend it 1 row outwards. That's fine, but it's definitely too wide. We're just going to nudge it in a row on both sides. That's definitely better, but still somehow seems too wide, but there's not really a way to shrink it. I'm going to extend up above the doorway a little bit. There's a canopy above the door, so we're just going to use mangrove and smooth quartz stairs for this. In the reference, it actually looks really weird in this corner. I don't think that it's generated properly. I'm just going to stick an upside down stair. Guys, I hate to be the one to ask this, but what's happened to the Colonel? Look at his eyes. I don't think he's doing so good. Well, anyway, the Colonel's portrait sits right about here, right in the middle of the space above the door. This has to be taller. And then there would just be some slabs on top of this. The slabs don't really seem to overhang the sides too much, but definitely do the front. We're gonna come back to the portrait later. Moving on to the left side, we are going to extend the bottom out. And there is a window, so the window seems to be like 2 glass, split in the middle, 2 more glass, and then just the actual corner of the build. The windows seem to be 2 to 3 rows high. I think that we'll do 3, with a little bit of grey concrete just across the top. We then need some smooth quartz above the window, but it doesn't go as high as the centre of the building. It does, however, seem to go up about as high as the Colonel's eye level. Maybe some smooth quartz slab underneath this. That might be a flare too much, but we'll see. There is also some smooth quartz slab above the grey concrete of the window, and the slabs seem to be in line with the top of the canopy, which means we raise up the windows to equal that height, or we add a bit more grey, and I'm leaning more into having more grey. That looks pretty good to me. Moving on to the right side of the build, we have some red concrete here and some grey. We have quite a large window. I'm thinking we make the edge of the window frame, we have the split in the middle, and then the edge again, just like this. And then right on this corner is, at the very least, 1 red concrete, which seems to like extend forward, but we might go for like a pillar, just like this, and we'll just raise this up. What's happened? We'll actually add the frame across the top because we don't have the grey concrete on this side. And we'll just add red concrete all the way around. We're raising this pillar up equally. That doesn't look bad. So we have to have the same roof line as the opposite side. I'm just going to follow that through just so that we don't overshoot it. I'll add the upside down stairs and the slabs underneath and then just meet it in the middle with some red concrete. Minor predicament. So now that we've created this pillar, we either can't have it and we're left with this, which actually looks kind of fine, or alternatively, we shove that back and we create a bit more depth, which I think does look better. Whether it is in line with the reference, I don't know. I'm also realizing that I don't know what to call this part, but like the central sign area is like really skinny, actually. So I'm not even certain that like that is that okay? Might even look better with just 1 row. I think that might actually look best, surprisingly. We've got to make the KFC sign as well. I think it goes right about here, actually. Ideally, these letters would be bigger, but what can you do? Or we put them right in the middle. That might be the move. Moving on, there is another window here, but it's rather small. It's just like 2 glass, 1 wall, 2 glass. I think something like this looks about right. There's also a bit of white wall next to this that's ever so slightly bigger than the window, so I've just made it 1 block longer, and some red concrete across the top of this. So there's like a lie, or a security alarm, or a who even knows what about here. I'm using a wither skeleton skull for this, because it just looks about right. I can see that there's quite clearly like another part of the building hidden away back here, so I'm choosing to believe that this is like the employee entrance, so I'm just going to make a little bit of the building, and it all actually seems to be white, even all the way up to the top, actually. I think it'd actually be a bit bigger than this. Something like this, I think, and there's also quite clearly like some sort of like overhang above the doorway, if that's what it is. I don't think it's a drive-through because there's clearly like a path in front of that part of the building, which there wouldn't be if it was a drive-through window. I'm going to work on sealing up the rest of the build now. I'm assuming that there's a window here only because you can kind of like see it through the other window on the reference. And I'll add another one for good measure. Then I'm just going to choose to make the rest of the back of the build just grey and white. I do have to actually add all of the trim though for the roof. Interestingly, and I don't think it's perspective, the roof seems a little bit lower on the back of the build where the white starts. So I'm going to extend across here and join to this position, and this is where the build can kind of like extend in a bit. So I think I'll actually push this inwards and shave off a row here, I think. I think that this is how it's meant to look, and then we can just seal up the roof. That looks good. Right, next I think we have landscaping. So we have a path which leads from the entrance leaves a little bit of a gap in front of the building and extends out. I think that we maintain a perimeter of 2 around the build, as we need enough room for both podzol and bushes. So that's our path. There's also definitely a bit more path right here too, I can just see it in the reference. The rest is podzol, and then we've just got some bushes. That does not look bad at all. Alright guys, wish me luck, I'm giving it a go. I genuinely don't know what to do. I think that this might be the best that I can do. We've kind of went for a nice fun cartoony version, but honestly I'd say that that's rather flattering. With that final detail, I'd say that we are about done. So this is it without the shaders, and this is with the shaders. Just as with the previous, I think that it actually just looks better without them. And here they are side by side. So now that we've made both of them, what do you think? Do you prefer the retro version? Or the modern version? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.